In the back of my mind, I had some cool intro for this video, the usual thing for the climb, and then I realized that I'd probably pull one of the stitches I have in my chest, and then I would, really regret it. So instead, I'm just gonna kind of bring this one in, I guess. Arcane's really good. Now, if you've been following the community tab, and as I just said in the intro, I have some stitches on my chest right now from some basic outpatient surgery stuff. Nothing serious, but I have to take it easy. So if I don't seem as animated in this video, I do apologize. I can't exactly move around as much as I was before. But hopefully I'll have them all healed up next week and can get back to my sort of normal energy. But in the next few videos, if you guys notice I seem a little more stiff, that's why. With that being said, obviously exercising was kind of out of the question this week. I was hoping to be healed up enough to at least go and do a few little things, but it didn't really happen. So, recovering from being sick and then immediately on top of that, having to go and deal with this, it was quite annoying. But, we'll bounce back, get it next week. And as for Japanese, I haven't had much to say either because I've been really busy keeping up with work after taking a few days off to recover. But I do want to say before I jump into the main chunk of this week's climb, which is mostly about League and Arcane and the idea of outside influence, encouraging you to play the game. I do want to say that my new plan moving forward with the Japanese is to kind of follow along with the basic structure of my language course I'd purchased with Rocket Languages. Basically, I've been struggling behind the scenes to find a way to tell you guys, hey, here's what I'm doing each week, or, incrementally showing off new things. There's basic stuff of a rhythm of practice that I go through, but I can talk about that each week, but it's just kind of repeating myself. So jumping into that course, I think will start to give a more weekly view of everything, and whatever the courses I get through for the week, whether they just be one of them or multiple, those are what I can talk about for the week and be more specific on stuff that I've learned. So that's where we're going to sort of be going this week. It'll be sort of a flavor of the week. This is what we did this week sort of thing. So, Arcane, the show that deceives you into committing your life to this game that makes you want to pull your hair out. It's pretty crazy. Now, while some of you who watch this show may not even play League of Legends, I actually do highly recommend you watch Arcane. I am going to be talking about Season 1 and about some spoilers from it, so if you're not interested in that, then sort of know that I highly recommend you go watch the show. It's genuinely one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. I really mean that with my whole chest, literally, and the pieces that are now missing. But in all seriousness, Arcane is genuinely amazing. It's a beautiful animated series. It's really well written and has a great story. And even if you know nothing about League of Legends, you can enjoy the world that game puts forth and embrace the story that it's telling without any knowledge of the game. And so I do recommend you go watch it. Big thumbs up, especially with the new season out. Just big thumbs up. Now, League, to an extent, is a weird game, as you've seen from the footage I've shown off, and I'm going to be showing off different footage this week than normal, because I'm not just talking about my technical competitive skill, but I'm talking more about how Arcane influenced me, at least back in the day when the first season came out a few years ago, and now again during the climb, to play more League and to stay motivated with it, and this idea of outside influence or lore and world building within the game. I am no expert on League of Legends lore, although I do find it quite interesting, and I've actually watched a few YouTube videos and read up on certain characters that I like. League has interesting lore around it in the sense that there's nothing there if you don't care, and there's a ton there if you do. The game has almost nothing to do with its lore and storytelling. It's all completely separate of the game. It's there if you want it, and it can add a fun layer to your experience with the game, but if it's not something you care about, well, you don't even have to deal with it. That's becoming a more and more common thing in video games these days. Other games have done it in the past for sure, things like World of Warcraft, there's even more if you want to explore, but you don't always have to. But particularly, recently Souls games like Elden Ring, having a story there, but it's sort of being distant. I think League does a great job of balancing this hop in and experience game, just play it if you like what the characters look like. And if you want to understand the characters you enjoy more and know their backstory and why they are the way they are, then you can do that. And Arcane is the perfect example of that. Now, I know when Arcane originally came out, there was a lot of hubbub of whether or not they should have done the Piltover story or other lanes in League of Legends. I personally think the Piltover story was a great move. It's probably the easiest to translate to audiences, and now that they've kind of committed to this series and used that as a great sort of introduction to the world of League, they can definitely go other weirder places with it, and people will still tune in. But I think Arcane is, in a sense, a perfect story to tell and to embrace with League of Legends and promoting the game and influencing people to want to check it out. The dynamic of Jinx and Vi and how they fell out as sisters during the death of their stepfather and during the different, twists and turns that go around, and Vi moving from, a traditional criminal lifestyle to a more enforcer, more justice-seeking interest versus Powder, who goes the complete opposite, who lets her emotions consume her and her, clearly obvious mental health issues drag her down to this deep, dark point, but that you still see that they don't really sit distinctly in both of those worlds. They're still standing on those gray lines, and that finds an interesting way to interact with the audience. I find myself looking at their dynamic and going, where are they going to end up? And if you've seen season 1, you know where each ends up standing, but I won't get into it too much. But that's what I find so great about that story, and so great about the world of League's lore, and especially the story that they want to tell through Arcane. Sci-fi fantasy can be something that's a very hard balance to strike, and I think they've done a really good job at it with the Hextech stuff that is in the League lore. Things like, the Hextech gauntlets that Vi uses, or, the laser that Victor shows off that he will eventually wear, most likely. And all of those things are, in my personal opinion, a huge motivating factor for people to be interested. You have this fantasy element, but they're dishing it to you in a way that's not normally served in traditional media, but is very common in video games. You see this sort of like science mixing with tech thing a lot more often in games than you do in traditional media, or at least that I end up finding. Strike that with League's interesting art style and amazing animation from their studio, and they've created a 10 out of 10 show that now brings people to the game. And the game now represents that too. You see, League is able to be interacted with in so many new ways now. They actually have pop stars, like the KDA stuff that goes around, and songs and music videos they make, and they literally promote them like bands. You also have Teamfight Tactics, where you can play auto chess and sort of have this more casual yet competitive experience if you're not into traditional MOBA League of Legends style of gameplay. And if you want a quicker style of gameplay, you have ARAM, which is now currently reskinned to look like the bridge from Arcane. They've clearly realized that they need to capitalize on this, and they need to use it as an influence for players to come back. Someone like me, who wants to get good at League, but maybe hasn't found the motivation like I didn't have before I started this whole climb thing. Arcane is that sort of push that's like, hey, I do find this interesting. And while I don't recommend everybody who watch Arcane play League of Legends, I think this is a cool thing to look at in your life in general as a motivating factor. If you're looking to learn something new, if you're looking to expand yourself or improve yourself, you don't need to try and think, where am I lacking in my life, which a ton of people do, because then I see they focus on their negative side. You should look towards what do you want to have in your life. It's very simple in a sense with Arcane, right? You watch the show, you find the lore and characters interesting, and so you decide, I want more of that. I like this art style. I like this aesthetic. I like the characters. I want more characters that are in this world. And so you go and play League of Legends. But this same thing could be applied to any of the stuff I do in the climb. I read manga. I want to learn Japanese so I can read it in Japanese. I start to learn it. Instead of looking, where am I lacking in my life? Oh, I don't know another language. And then I'm harsh on myself. I'm negative about it. I go, oh, it's a shame that I don't know it and other people do. You then look at it as, oh, I want to improve my life. Everything is the angle you come at it from. And that's sort of what I always try to show on the climb, is how it can apply to you through the actions that I'm taking. And I just think Arcane's a great example of that. Now, the title might be misleading in a sense where I talk about how Arcane can improve your life. Well, it can. It's good artwork. But in a sense, it's more this idea of taking something you find interest in and expanding its content within your life. You shouldn't look at yourself and find out, why am I not better than people? You should think, where should I be? What do I want from myself? It's all about how you want to bring your life together as a full picture. That's why I try to include each week different steps I've taken from League, from Japanese learning, from getting in shape, is because it's not about any one of those things dominating my life. It's about the fact that I want all of them in my life. I want to improve these sections of my life. And I don't want to look at myself as I am lacking in those things. I can't do those things. That's why they're missing from my life. I want to look at it as I want more of them in my life. I want to experience these things I find interesting more often in my life. And they make me happier that way. Now, granted, League, it can be controversial to say League makes you happy. Art is a beautiful crutch, if you will, that helps us get through the struggles of daily life. It can be tough to walk up that hill, to push the rock up the hill, as I say all the time on the climb. That sort of Sisyphus challenge of you have to keep getting back up no matter how many times you trip, fall, or make a mistake. Art is sort of that crutch there that makes those daily struggles easier. And I feel like people should now take this advice that I'm giving them and look at it this way. If there's something in your life you want to enjoy more, don't look at it as, I have this lacking part of myself that I wish was different. Look at it as, I want to have more of this in my life. What do I need to do for myself in order to get there? Does that make sense? I hope it does. Don't look at the hole in the wall. Look at what you want to put in the hole, in the wall. Find the holes in the foundation and don't go, man, look at all these cracks. Look at, oh man, this can be so beautiful when I add new things to it. Always add to yourself. Never take away. Never look at, oh, I'm so limited because I don't have these things. Anybody can do anything, as I always say on this series. And I'm taking a simple example of a TV show motivating people to play a video game and showing it as a wider understanding of self-improvement, of finding the things you like in life and making sure you have more of them. Thank you guys for watching. This is a kind of an odd video. I'm sort of, off base, as I'd said, from, recovery, but in the same sense, wanted to talk about Arcane because the new season's out and it's great, and I really love the show, and I love League, and I talk about it each week. So I feel like bringing together those ideas in this idea of self-improvement, I can take what I've learned and look at it as, oh, I consume all of these things, and I do these things not because I find myself lacking, but because I desire to have them around more often. So, if there's something you want in your life, if there's a person you want in your life, if there's a version of you want in your life, take the steps towards having it around more often. Don't look at something you don't have, look at something you want to have around more. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week, even though it's kind of coming to an end right now. And I will catch you all very soon. Thank you again. Like, comment, subscribe, share. It really, really helps the channel when you do those things. YouTube really blesses interaction these days. They really just kind of wave their hand towards that and say, this is what makes videos good. So interact with the content as much as you can. Again, thank you so much, and I will catch you all in next week's climb. Thank you so much. See you again soon. Peace and love, everyone. Take care. Bye.